Well, hello, everyone. My name is Eric Eichhoff, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Associate Director of Alumni Relations at John Carroll University. Thank you for joining us this evening for our next installment of A.C.E.S, the Alumni Continuing Education Series. A.C.E.S was established in the spring of 2013 by the Office of Alumni Relations in the spirit of lifelong learning. The program offers enrichment opportunities for alumni and friends through the expertise of members of the JCU administration, our outstanding faculty, and our alumni community. Over the past year, we've heard from experts on ethics and leadership, the political and economic impact of COVID-19, racial equity and social justice, disruptive technology, space exploration, and the women's suffrage movement, just to name a few. Tonight, we will learn about the life cycle of financial planning with two of John Carroll's outstanding faculty members. Before I introduce our guests, I want to share a few housekeeping items with all of you. First, we encourage you to view the program in full screen mode. Additionally, please ensure that you stay muted throughout the duration of the program. We will have an opportunity for questions at the conclusion of the moderated conversation. Please use the chat feature, and I will curate as many as possible and ask them of our panelists. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Andy Welke and Dr. Sean Zhang, our guests for this evening's discussion. Dr. Andy Welke received a BA in economics from Wilkes College and completed his PhD in economics from Penn State University. Since then, Dr. Welke has been a faculty member at John Carroll within the Department of Economics and Finance in the Boller College of Business. Past administrative experience includes service as Assistant Dean in the College of Arts and Sciences. He is an active researcher with publications in areas including sports economics, the choice of college major, and highway safety. Additionally, he has recently received awards for his teaching quality at the college level, the university level, and from external organizations. His university service includes more than 25 years as faculty representative to the OAC and the NCAA. Within the conference, he has held a number of leadership positions. And Dr. Sean Zhang has a BA in mathematics, an MS in statistics, and a PhD in personal financial planning. As the director of financial planning and wealth management program at JCU, he's built and led the program since 2018. He is a CFP holder and is a CFA 3 candidate. He has published articles in the Journal of Personal Finance and Journal of Financial Planning. In his spare time, he enjoys playing basketball, kayaking, and downhill skiing. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Welke and Dr. Zhang. Gentlemen, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you much, Eric, for the nice introduction. I speak on behalf of Sean as well, I'm sure. I want to thank everybody in the audience for this particular opportunity. I think it's an opportunity for us to allow the world to understand the role that financial planners play in the big scheme of things. Please understand that while we welcome our questions or questions from the audience, we're not going to be able to drill down into specific kinds of situations because they're obviously complex, and the kind of advice that would be necessary we wouldn't have, or certainly Sean wouldn't have the ability to speak to. So from that standpoint, it's an educational session, no recommendations to make. It's just designed to help people think about the various stages of their financial lives and their financial plans and the kinds of issues they have to deal with. So from that standpoint, I guess, Sean, would you help us understand, does everybody need a financial plan? I guess would be one question. And then sort of related to that is, when would they have like a need for a financial planner?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really thanks for the good introduction and the information background about this. I want to make sure, can anyone look at my screen? I think I share my screen right here. Am I right?
You're good.
Yeah, okay. So, to the short answer to the question, right? Is there any need for a financial plan? Is there any need for a financial planner? The short answer is yes, 100%. I think it's definitely needed. To get into this, let's look at a sample of the personal finance questions that I think each of us can all write into. Maybe sometime that you already ask yourself about those questions, right? For example, probably you ask, hey, what does my financial health look like, right? Where I can have those kind of on annual basis, someone can help me to check on my financial conditions in my household. right? Am I on track to achieve something or not, right? If I go through all those sample questions, if you read through those questions may look very familiar. As I said, the short answer is that there is a huge need for a financial plan and a financial planner. The long answer is, the financial planner, not just they will provide a specific solution and recommendations to those individual questions, but also they will provide those recommendations in a context of a big picture, which is all your financial conditions within the household. Typically, if you have not, or if you already engaged with a financial planner, the typical way to go is the financial planner will ask all your information, right? Your saving accounts, checking accounts, your investment accounts, your retirement accounts, and then they will go ahead construct the financial statements. For example, the personal net worth statements, the cash flow statements, and then they will do a whole bunch of calculations and then decide, hey, is your financial condition looking good, or above average, or just meet the conditions, or below the average? What is the additional thing to do to keep you on track? Again, this is kind of a long answer, but overall, the financial planner will, as a professional, they will take care of this financial side of your household life, and you're going to enjoy a peace of mind and sleep well.
So is there like a way to, I guess, summarize what a financial planner does, like a short way that we could sort of think about the kind of role that they would play in a person or family's life?
Yes. Hopefully this slide will summarize that well. What's the role of a financial planner? A financial planner will help people to make better financial decisions. I would say that's one of the shortest way to describe this financial planner job. And to be honest, a lot of financial planners, they enjoy doing this because they achieve a lot of satisfaction by helping people to make great decisions. One of the good jobs going forward, one of the best jobs ranked by Kiplinger, good work-life balance. And here you see a chart kind of flow from left to right, and give you a kind of a short history of personal financial planning industry from back to 1979 to right now. And fortunately, in 2019, John Carroll University started this program, and we are one of the CIP board registered programs, and not too many those registered programs in the nation.
Okay. So I guess I'm imagining that people will face different kinds of situations at different stages in their lives. Mm-hmm. And that's going to require them to be, I would imagine, thinking about different sorts of things. So maybe we can work chronologically through sort of a timeline, so to speak, of how lives evolve. And maybe one way to think about it would be that we can imagine we're halfway through the fall semester or a little bit more for a bunch of students who will be graduating seniors in May. Mm-hmm. And many of them have jobs lined up, which is a good thing. They're on paths to success. And so that being said, for the graduating seniors or people that are just transitioning out of college, what kinds of areas should be on their radar scope as they start to think about this financial planning process?
There could be a lot of personal financial decisions, right? As a recent college grad, they probably are thinking, hey, I start a job in a certain place. Should I rent a house or buy a house? Should I buy a car or lease the car, right? Those kind of decisions, it's already there. But, among all those decisions, I would say there are two things I want to at least bring attention to. The first thing is pay attention to the student loan repayment. The other one is learn to save. I guess a lot of students will have some sort of student loans. The rule is once you get out of university, right, you start to work. After 6 months, you are required to make payments. So, you don't want to miss the payments or default on the payments because there are severe penalties down the road. So, one of this most important things I want to bring the recent college students' attention to is once you start to make money and take care of those all the possible debt obligations as the priority, and then once you fulfill that obligation, and then start to think, okay, where the rest of the money go? If I do have extra money, the second part is learn to save.
So in that area of savings, what's the advantage to them of saving, starting that habit at that particular point in time? I mean, a lot of them want to live lifestyles that are cars and travel and all kinds of things that they may have denied. I guess what would be the benefit to them of this establishing that habit then?
Yeah, so one of the benefits I would say is once you put a saving as the first priority, right? The saving actually will discipline you from overspending, right? A lot of times you feel like, well, I start a job, right? I start to make money, but can I spend every single dollar of that? Probably not a good idea to do that. But people tend to overspend on generally speaking. So saving definitely will help you discipline yourself not from overspending. But there's the other benefits that saving early. There are certain purpose of savings, right? For example, as a financial planner, we always recommend not just to those young recent college grad, but also to every age group is you want to maintain a certain level of emergency fund. For example, as a rule of thumb, we always say, hey, save to up to 3 to 6 months of the monthly necessary expenses. Why that's the case? Because what if a drama happens? What if the job is not there? What if the income is becoming unstable? And you want to make sure you have something to live on. So the importance of the emergency money. So the younger ones should learn and develop that habit to save on a regular basis to have that emergency fund. And not just that, the younger ones, let's say they are in 20s, right? Maybe 5 to 10 years later, they are ready to buy their first house. And they have to, make sure to have that 20% down payment, or the more the better, right? The other one is when you start to work, your company may offer a 401k. If you work for a university, the university may provide a 403b, right? You want to take advantage of all those possible vehicles to save for retirement. And sometimes, a lot of times, I would say the company, university will provide employer match, right? Once you contribute on a monthly basis, the institution will match for you. That's a free dollar, and you definitely want to take advantage of that.
That seems like important things for them to have on their radar scope in terms of, so that you could imagine, depending upon what their plans are, there would be value from professional advice in terms of all kinds of issues related to how to hold that emergency fund, and as well as start to think about what to do with some of this saving that's taking place longer term.
Yes. Yes. Right now, younger ones start to build that habit of saving. But when we talk about a saving, sometimes for short-term saving, but the other times for long-term saving, right? Once you accumulate, once you enjoy that compounding, then the balance becomes bigger and bigger, then that's for long-term. And that's not something you want to fire sale or to force somehow take early withdrawal for short-term purpose. So this is where the financial planner will kick in to make sure they will take care of everything in the bigger scheme of things and make recommendations in each small parts, but also in the context of a big picture in their financial condition.
I guess what I'd be curious about, you mentioned they would make recommendations. So these aren't going to be choices that the financial planner makes. I'm assuming the financial planner is playing an advisory kind of role.
Yes.
Okay. So we've just graduated, but I could imagine as they are out for a number of years, perhaps their personal circumstances start to change. They're now in a situation where maybe they've found a person that they want to spend their life with. That continues to evolve as we get into that next stage of not the single person graduating from college, but now becoming more of a household. How does that change the landscape for the professional financial planner?
Yeah, you know, once a couple prepares to get married, they want to start a family, have kids in the house. So there are extra things definitely we should watch for. Here are a few things as a SEPI holder, I want to personally bring everyone's attention to those areas. On top of those, the things that we emphasized in the previous slides is, we are looking forward to a wedding, right? Definitely there will be some cost associated with that. Could be a large number, could be, okay number, but apparently that's a plan over there. So for sure, we want to plan ahead for that. We don't want any surprises. Somehow you have to sell something to be able to come up with cash for this wedding cost. So that definitely is one thing I want to emphasize here. The other one is life insurance. Right now it's marriage, right? You want to plan for the unexpected events. What if? And then you want to take care of the person who's still alive. So that's all of a sudden life insurance is in the mix. And then the question is, hey, what type of life insurance to buy, and how much life insurance coverage I should buy, right? So that's the other things I definitely recommend attention to. The other one is education funding. Education funding is, think about you start a family, you have 1 or 2 children, and 18 years down the road, right, the kid's going to go to the college. And we all know that the college expense is increasing in a significant speed, which is much higher than our regular economy inflation. So definitely you want to plan ahead of time, prepare for the education funding. The other one, touch that a little bit is you are working, right? We talk about 30, 35, 40-ish for this group. So definitely this is a good time you want to take advantage of retirement account savings and continue to take advantage of employer match and continue to save even more through different vehicles for retirement.
Yeah. Well, I regularly see commercials and get emails about 529 accounts. So as we start to think about that area of taking care of college, or maybe you might even have families thinking about private schools for high schools and all the rest. What are there options available, or is that just sort of, yes. I guess I'm trying to imagine what tools might there be and the role that the financial planner plays to help understand those.
Yes, good point, Andy. Yes, there are a lot of vehicles that you could use for education savings. Once you determine that how much you're going to need for the children's education, then the next question is where you can save it, right? 529 definitely is one of the most important vehicles you can save for long term, right? Let's say the kid is 1 year old and we talk about 17 years later and prepare for the education. You can start 529 right now, start savings on a yearly basis. And then, but also you could have other choices. For example, we could have a Coverdell ESA, we could have a UGMA and a UTMA. This is the 4 typical saving vehicles for college education. And not just college education. Right now, let's say if you plan for high school, middle school, elementary school, 529 can be used for all of those. So definitely it's a good vehicle to take advantage for.
Are there, I guess I'm imagining extended families. Can other people get involved in this particular process? Or is it just like the parents that can play a role in that saving process for higher education?
Yeah, very good question. For example, let's take it for 529, for example. Everyone can contribute for the same kid. So for example, we have one kid, we have one 529, Dad and mom can each contribute. Grandma, grandpa can each contribute. Anyone else who wants to contribute, they can contribute. So generally speaking, that's the rule. But depends on the states. There are certain limits that you can go beyond. But general rule is anyone who wants to contribute, they can contribute. But the thing is, a little bit more on this is, well, I have tons of money. Let's say I have $50,000. I have $100,000. Can I contribute as one lump sum to this 529? Well, the tricky part is once you go beyond a certain limits, there are gifting taxations. And different accounts have different rules. 529, we talk about there's a 5-year that you can deposit over there as a one lump sum. You can avoid gifting taxations, but that's a long conversation over there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, but it sounds to me like these are areas where there are benefit to speaking to somebody who works in the area, rather than just to sort of try to do it by yourself and figure it all out. Because for the first time, we've heard sort of this idea that a lot of these things might have tax ramifications, and that's something that needs to be, it's a complex area that needs to be at least considered as all decisions are made.
Yes, a lot of times is why we have those vehicles, because people feel like, well, one vehicle 529 is not enough. What if I want to contribute more? Then those other vehicles could be helpful. But again, right, once you contribute too much, then definitely there is some possible penalties over there.
Sure.
Yeah.
In terms of,
yeah,
I'm sorry. No, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I guess we talk about, well, you have to save for education, right? Which is we talk about it from maybe 1 year old to 17 years later. That's before college. But hey, what's possible funding vehicles or funding sources that we could use if the kids are already in the college? Well,
Right.
Different sources. We could have student loans. We could apply scholarships. We could rely on RA distributions. We could also borrow from home equity loan. Also borrow from the parents or grandparents 401k 403b, and also grandparents may directly pay to the education institutions. So different possible ways for fundings.
Well, it sounds to me like, obviously, with an investment or that amount of money involved in a decision, you want to explore all of the range of options that are available. And it would be really beneficial to have professional advice in that regard.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. One small thing I do want to bring you guys' attention to is, if you look at, there's direct payments from grandparents, right? What if grandchildren go to college, grandparents want to help? But one thing I personally recommend is, if possible, if grandparents wants to help, make sure you help in the third year and year 4. Don't help on the year 1, year 2. Again, that's a rule of thumb. Why that's the case? Because there's tax implications of that. But again, don't view this as like you absolutely have to do that. But it's generally recommended from me. Okay.
Gotcha. So we sort of imagine going through that stage where families are developing and growing, kids going off to school, sort of, you now start to think about retirement, but you're also moving into a stage where you now see yourself as perhaps empty nesters. How do we then how does our focus then change once we've gotten past this educational piece of a puzzle?
Yeah, so once we get to the kind of a later half of a typical life, a married couple becomes empty nester, children leave the house, then for us, we definitely want to continue to pay attention to those areas. One would be continue to accumulate wealth. Here we talk about a 40-50 each, right? That's still part of this earning period. So continue build wealth. This here is one simple concept, but if we try to really achieve this in the real world, we want to make sure we have a good asset allocations for a longer term. We want to continue to build wealth. And the other thing is, once you get to this 40, 50-ish, a lot of times we will pay additional attention to the long-term care insurance. Don't wait until like really late to get into long-term care insurance, because that's going to be very expensive. So get into the long-term care insurance as early as reasonable. Okay. Yeah.
What about, throughout this process, we've been saving in certain vehicles, whatever they happen to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to be attentive to how that might change in terms of how we allocate savings as we progress through life, in terms of like how risky we want to be versus how less risk?
Yes. So, to answer that question is that there's no rule of thumb here.
Okay.
It really plays to everyone's risk tolerance. Let's say we talk about 50s, 60s. They are anticipated they will retire in 10 years. Okay. If you ask a financial planner, they would say, hey, start to pay attention to your asset allocation, start to reduce the equity portion, try to be less risk-taking. And then, but also we have to think that, even we get to retirement, we still have a 30, 40 years after that, 65, right? So that's still long-term. So here is, even the financial planner would recommend reduce risk-taking, but we still end up with some families are still aggressive because they are thinking, okay, I still have 40 years left.
Sure. So
again, but there are some other families will listen to, hey, maybe that's time for me to reduce. That's why we adjust investment allocation. Could be more risk-taking, could be less risk-taking. It depends.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but my head is spinning with all these decisions, right? So evidently there needs to be a process for the financial planner or the aspiring financial planner to sort of start to learn all of this particular stuff. So I guess I'm wondering, in our particular program, if a student was in our program, what would take place for them to help them at least become an emerging professional, understanding all of the dimensions of this?
Yeah, so thanks for this question. At John Carroll, we really have a solid program. As we talked about in the previous slides, is John Carroll University program is one of the CIP board registered program. In the U.S., there are not too many of those programs. And we offer 7 courses, 18 credits. As you can read through the slides here, we cover all necessary courses to be able to say, hey, the students get out from this program can automatically have their education requirements met and be able to qualify to sit for a CIP exam. Why we talk about CIP exam? Because going forward, CIP certification is currently the golden standard, will continue to be the golden standard in this profession. This program, John Carroll, will train the young professionals to become this part of this elite group going forward.
So I guess as I'm looking at sort of the opportunities that are available, are there technologies that these people need to understand in terms of to be successful in their field, or at least would be helpful?
Yeah. So, in the U.S., if anyone already talked with a financial planner, probably it's not a surprise. MoneyGuard Pro, eMoney are the top 2 financial planning softwares in the U.S. And John Carroll also are university partners with those 2 companies. And every student, including faculty, we have the free access to those softwares, and also we use those softwares throughout all those courses. So students get to use the softwares, get hands-on experiences, work on projects to work out a financial plan. Yeah.
Well, as I look at sort of the different areas, like they all make sense to me. You need to be familiar with tax planning, you have investment planning, but I guess if I was a client
Mhm.
and I was enlisting the services of a financial planner, say one of our graduates, what's going to give me comfort that they know how to deal with the total? Because I mean, you've mentioned all these threads sort of weave together and things in one area have implications in other areas. How does that all come together for a typical John Carroll student?
Yeah, so we have 7 courses, right? Total is 18 credits. The students gonna complete from number 1 to number 6 all those courses. You want to make sure you complete all those, learn about those knowledge in different areas, and then in the number 7 capstone class, this is the last class before every students get out from this program and graduate. So this capstone class will give students capstone experiences in terms of they will receive a really complex, comprehensive client situation. And then over time, they have to write up roughly 100-page or above financial plan. So they will work at a different parts of this client situation: tax, investment, estate, insurance, retirement, everything included. So students will have hands-on experiences using the MoneyGuide Pro or eMoney to work out a financial plan before they get to the real jobs. Hands-on experiences up there.
So speaking of hands-on experiences, have our students, what sorts of internships might they have, or career opportunities that would exist that we have for current students, or just for people in the audience that might be thinking about letting their son, daughter, grandson, somebody know about this as a possible career path?
Yeah, I guess right now, since we have this program since 2019, right? We already graduate the first cohort, and this is our second cohort. To be honest, a lot of students already secure jobs before they even graduate from here. In Cleveland area, we have a lot of wealth management companies. It's almost to look like to me that the companies are fighting for our students. All of a sudden they learn that we have this program and we have students, and there is a huge demand for financial planning students.
Is that just true locally, or is that sort of part of a bigger national trend?
It's both locally and on national level. We have students who are looking forward to get a job in California, in different states, not just Cleveland wise.
Sure.
Yeah.
In terms of the kinds of jobs, what are we looking at in terms of sort of salary information or those kinds of things?
Yes. So here's a nice summary of all those information. For a typical personal financial planning student, they could go out to work as a financial planner, personal financial advisor, wealth manager, investment advisor, you name it. It's different type of titles, but it's a similar job. Okay. They could work in different institutions. They could also choose to be self-employed. They could also work in those big name brokerage companies, but they also could work in the typical RA type of investment advisor companies. Job-wise, this is just new information from Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2021. This year, over the next 10 years, we're going to have average 20,000 jobs on a yearly basis. That's a lot of jobs, to be honest. And in terms of the dollar payments for this job, if we look at a median pay, that's $88,000. Again, based on 2020 dollars from labor statistics websites. And we have a top 10% and lower 10% is $43,000. And also, there's a really steady career ladder that once you get into this field, you build out experiences, the salary actually will kick in pretty quickly.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I think, was there some, please, if you wanted to share.
Yeah, so, here's something else I want to share that is, you probably, as a potential clients, you probably see so many different places where you say, wow, they do provide a financial planning service. That's real, because right now, if you look at, this is where the financial planning students could get a job from. It could be insurance company, could it be investment, registered investment advisor, could it be commercial banks, could it be tech type of robo advisor type of companies, Vanguard, TD Ameritrade, Swap. So you could find financial planner in every possible financial institutions. That's a reality as well, because right now pretty much every institution wants to or already have the presence of this personal financial planner functions within their companies.
Gotcha. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, Sean. I hope the audience has found it helpful. I know that I certainly have. And I guess what I'd like to do, if we can, is we'll migrate over to see if there are some questions that we could answer for our guests.
Well, Sean and Andy, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We got one so far, and I encourage anyone who has other questions to please put them in the chat. Can you speak to, so the question is, can you speak to the fiduciary level of care versus the sustainability standard of care when it comes to financial advice or recommendations?
Yes, that's a really good question. What I can say is financial planning professional as a CLP holder, they hold themselves as a fiduciary. What that means is they work in the best interest of their clients, above their employer's interest. So they're gonna make decisions like they are making decisions for themselves. So that's for sure fiduciary standards. That's written in the law, and that's required by CLP board. The other side of this standards is, I believe, Eric, what you said is the suitability standards, right?
Suitability, yes.
Yeah, suitability standard versus the fiduciary standards. I want to make it very clear, CLP holders definitely will follow fiduciary standards, work in the best interest of clients. Nobody else but best interest of clients. We always hear that noise about this suitability standards. Typically the broker, right? If we work with the stockbroker, by law, they only follow suitability standards. As long as it's suitable for your situation, they can make that recommendation, but they don't have to follow that higher level of fiduciary standards. And we as a CLP holder must work in the best interest, which is fiduciary standards.
So if I could unpack that, then that would suggest to me that it would be in my best interest to, at least as I'm exploring opportunities for financial advisors, that the CFP person, I should have a greater degree of comfort in, as opposed to just someone who may be a very successful financial advisor, but doesn't necessarily have that credential?
Yes, and what you said is correct. Let me give you some numbers here. In US, we roughly have 300,000 personal financial advisors, but guess what? Not too many hold a CLP certification. And roughly, it's only above 90,000 out of 300,000 hold CLP certification. So here's what we talk about these credentials. We want to make sure the CLP will continue to be the golden standard in this profession, because if a stockbroker say, hey, they are a financial planner, they are a personal financial advisor, but they follow the suitability standards, and we CLP holder say we're a personal financial advisor, we follow the fiduciary standards. Did you see the difference here? There is a certain noise over there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for the explanation, Sean, and for the follow-up question, Andy. The next question is, any ballpark guidelines on how much life insurance is too much or too little?
Good question. If I give a rule of thumb, I would say 10 to 13 times of your annual salary. But again, any rule of thumb, without this specific household information, you really can't make that recommendation. I hope that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is everybody has different thumbs.
So it's like, it's similar to the emergency money, right? We always recommend save at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency money account. But some family I'm really risk averse. I want to save more. 9 months, it's totally fine as long as that's the true assumption. Hope that makes sense. Depends on the situation. We may recommend a different way.
Well, it sounds like that's where the personal relationship between the financial planner provides its value into understanding sort of the client and their particular attitudes on a lot of things to be able to allow them to best understand what their options are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another kind of insurance question. Can you comment on the purpose of whole versus term life insurance?
Good question. Really good question. The whole life insurance, as name says, it's a whole life insurance, right? It's for the whole life. Then the question is, do you really want the whole life insurance or not? Maybe what you really want is for this next 30 years, 20 years. And after 20 years, you don't need life insurance. This is where the term life insurance will kick in, will be more helpful compared to whole. Does that make sense, Eric? Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times I do hear some of my friends, they say, yes, I do have life insurance needs because I have certain family member to take care of if I unfortunately die. But maybe it's only for 20 years. So I only go with the 20 years term instead of a whole life. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Another question, can a CFP address tax considerations sufficiently, or is it best to coordinate investments and planning with a tax accountant? And then a secondary question, can there be package deals when you have maybe a CFP and an accountant?
Great question. If you work with a wealth management company, you probably can find that in that team, they have CFP, they also have CPA, they have CFA, they have a JD, right? The whole team has a different specialized expertise within the same team. What that means is, the CLP is kind of, think of this way. The CLP holder within the team will engage everyone, CFAs, CPAs, GDs into the same team. They're gonna collectively put efforts into that comprehensive financial plan. Anytime, if there is a tax question that the CFP does not or is not able to answer, then that person will go to the CPA to confirm, double check. And this is how the team works, and this is how the real world operates in the wealth management companies.
So that's pretty standard for companies to have that, as opposed to if you go to a smaller place, they may not have.
Yes, very good question. Let's say a smaller company, they don't have that deep expertise. What they could do is, and I think some companies actually do that, they will outreach or outsource it to a different team in other bigger institution. That's also true in the reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What does it typically cost to get help from a CFP? And do you recommend a fee-only CFP?
I guess I want to make sure I hear the first question clearly. So how much to have a CFP?
Yeah, what does it typically cost to get help from someone?
Very good question. Very good question. You have different options. One, if you only want to know, hey, how my financial condition look like, right, for one time. Actually, there are such companies. You can pay monthly subscription fee, and you get help within your certain income level of household conditions, and they will provide that answer to all your questions within that monthly subscription period. That makes sense?
Yep.
So it's like there are such companies, they will provide all the expertise answers to all your questions as long as you pay monthly subscription fee. And if you continue to pay, they will continue to answer all your questions, create plans for you. Depending on the different income level, you may pay different rates over there. That's one option. The other option is depends on the assets level. You could go to different wealth management companies and to request one-time service. Let's say I have a certain level of assets and I have so many questions, I don't know what to do. Hey, give me some financial health checkup. Some companies may simply charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for one-time financial plan service. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And a lot of times this could be negotiable depending on if you want to continue have a long-term relationship with this company or not. If somehow you like their service and you want to continue this, they may simply waive this fee. And then the model will become a fee only. Like this question mentioned that, we have this fee only, fee-based, commission-based. There's going to be a long discussion over there. But if you ask me, I personally recommend you want to try some fee-only RA companies first. Again, because there are a lot of discussion, debate between if you are a fee-only, which means the company only charge you fees, nothing else. The company will not sell you products to get commissions, only fee. But a fee-only could be a mix of those. Could be a fee and commissions. But you have to think about kind of the moral hazard question here is, if as a company, I provide a service to you, I charge you a fee, and also I try to sell you products, guess what? I want to earn more commissions as well. So somehow that creates a conflict of interest. So fee only will get rid of that. Hope that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. So one thing that I am so glad that Angela put this into the chat. Well, she actually directly messaged me, but something that I have been fascinated with. Thoughts on cryptocurrency? Bitcoin, is it the future or a pyramid scheme?
Great question. I unfortunately I can't comment on that one.
Fair enough.
Let me use this analogy. Hopefully that makes sense. If you ask a person who go through the training in terms of a finance PhD program, personal financial planning program, right? My thoughts on investments are gonna be one, long term. I'm gonna stick with my long-term asset allocation. I will not be like panic because the going down, or will be very happy because of going up, because I'm a long-term person. I don't particularly pay attention to what happened on a daily basis. But on the other side, in my real life, I have friends who are a day trader. Trust me, the person is a day trader. And I don't know if you guys follow what happened to Tesla stock price, right? Over the past few days, the Tesla stock price goes up significantly. Guess what? My day trader friends profit over $30,000 based on $5,000 investment. That's a great profit. That's a great return, right? But again, he's a day trader. He actually using this super risky derivative type of investment strategy. Again, right? That's different investment mentality. Involve different type of risks. Really want to put everything into there? I don't know. If you ask me, I probably will not do that. It's a similar thing to the Bitcoin and this currency. I also personally have friends who are super into this, go to different meetings, seminars, and learn about those, and heavily involved invest. But again, I hesitate to comment on those.
That is completely fair.
Yeah.
So question getting kind of more into the educational aspect of it. Do certified financial planners require continual education? And if so, what kind?
Yes. So every 2 years, CIP holders will have to finish 30 credits of a continuing education. Otherwise, the credential will be gone. That's penalty. So every 2 years, 30 credits, including out of those, including 2 ethic credits. So again, the ethics talk about, you follow the rule, follow the regulation, and be a fiduciary. That type of credits.
I guess the secondary question is, does John Carroll offer any of those kinds of continuing education courses?
A great question. That might be something that we definitely can offer. You know, the format of a continuing education take different forms, right? It could be a class, could it be a paper presentation, could it be a seminar, could it be an academic discussion, you know, could be involved in different type of format. So yeah, it's definitely something we could consider going forward.
Cool.
If we invite, let's say if we invite those industry thought leaders to give a speech, definitely that will be counted as one of the credits. Actually, I presented papers in different conferences. My paper presentation will count as a continuing education as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Anyway, last call for questions because we're kind of getting up to kind of our time for the night. But then the next one is, do you believe in the 4% rule for retirement distribution?
Good question. All good questions. You know, the 4% rule, again, is a rule of thumb. It's based on some set of assumptions to come up with that 4%. Depending on the specific client information, it may or may not work. I'm sorry I can't give a really concrete yes or no. It really depends. Because if you watch a debate between some other strategies, you know, some other would say, well, you want to annuitize that because what if you live longer, right? You want to annuitize a certain part of your retirement money because what if you live longer? What if, you know, sometimes they will say, well, what if you live shorter than average? But there's always the other side. What if you live longer? You want to make sure you have something. So in that scenario, what if you live longer? Then 4% may or may not work. Depends on a lot of other situations.
Well, I think to your point, Sean, it sounds that the value of the financial planner is to understand in great detail the financial situation, but also the person that they're dealing with in terms of risk management and tolerance and all of these kinds of things. To be able to lay out a set of options for them that make sense with who they are personally and willing to live.
Yes, exactly. You know, some other factors contribute to this is what is the family health conditions, right? What is that life expectancy? You know, what is this the legacy, right? A lot of times the people will say, well, I want to leave something to the family, to the next generation, you know, and also how much you already save in your 401k, how much is your Social Security dollars, and what is healthcare costs, you know, in all of those, you know, the cash flow wise could change dramatically depending on a lot of factors. So, and how big how large the family member is. So, and also, you know, I guess we all aware of, if not, so, you know, depending on when you declare the Social Security, you could have a permanent decrease, right? Let's say 67 is a full retirement age. You could declare Social Security back to age 62. But guess what? If you declare that in that early, you reduce, your money will be reduced by 30% permanently going forward. But you can also wait to declare Social Security 3 years, and every 1 year wait give you 8% a permanent increase. And you know, to make that decision, you also have to trade off how long is that life expectancy after you declare Social Security. You know, hopefully that makes sense because there are so many moving parts here.
It does. It definitely does. One thing, you know, maybe it was on this call, on this question, and it kind of goes back to insurance, but also kind of the new world that we're living in, the world of unfortunately COVID.
Yeah.
Does that, how does that make an impact on whether people should consider how much health insurance to have, long-term disability, all those things that maybe we didn't necessarily need to think about before COVID was around, or at least as early, maybe that's a better way to say it. How would you, or how has things changed because of the pandemic?
Yeah. So, great point, Eric. I think the COVID definitely make people aware of, wow, I have a lot of personal finance questions. I have to make better decisions on those questions. Definitely people start to realize the value of emergency money, right? If you save, then you don't panic for a half a year or more than that. The other thing I think is good for a personal financial planning industry, because a lot of people tend to realize there is benefits, there is a value if you have this professional service from a personal financial planner. A lot of people will panic when the portfolio declines, when the stock market declines. But surprised me, and also maybe not surprised to me, is I used to work with a company, and they have over 900 clients, and they are getting ready to receive phone calls from those clients because they're thinking, wow, the stock market declines dramatically. But guess what? Not too many phone calls, because they already know that this is just a kind of a short-term thing. If you are a long-term investor, things will move up. Things will be in place, in order. So the value of a personal financial planner really create this peace of mind, and the clients actually learn that. So I think that's definitely is a good, not good thing of COVID itself, but definitely puts the value of the personal financial planner to the public attention.
Great. Well, Sean, Andy, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We are incredibly grateful that you took time out of your night to be with us. We're even more grateful that you are teaching our current and future Blue Streaks. We are incredibly fortunate to have both of you within our John Carroll community, and your willingness to share your knowledge with us tonight. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you
for the opportunity. Sean did all the work.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Of course. Before we conclude, I want to remind you of a few other upcoming programs that you may have seen hit your inboxes recently. One of the most important things you can do as a JCU alumnus or alumna is help a current Blue Streak. On Tuesday, November 9th, the Bowler Professional Development Program will be conducting Network for Success. Network for Success allows our alumni volunteers to act as professional coaches and help our students polish their networking skills. We hope you can join us in supporting the next generation of Bowler graduates. It is a wonderful evening and a lot of fun. On Tuesday, November 18th, alumnus Jim Moses, class of 1980, Vice President of Dallas-Fort Worth Operations for American Airlines, will return to campus to speak with our alumni and students about the future of air travel, his journey from JCU to DFW, the fourth busiest airport in the world, and his leadership philosophy that creates a culture that puts his over 8,000 person team members first. Additionally, please mark December 11th on your calendar. Our team in alumni relations is already gearing up for the Christmas season, and we promise if you're local, you will not want to miss this year's celebration. It will be a blend of one of JCU's most beloved traditions, Christmas Carol Eve, and revive a new one as well. We'll be lighting a university Christmas tree on the main quad. You can find more information and register for all of our upcoming programs, including Alumni Author Series, Scholarly Luncheons, our A.C.E.S programs, and our Alumni Spotlights at jcu.edu/alumni. Additionally, we invite you to view recordings of all of our previous programs by searching John Carroll University Alumni on YouTube. Finally, please consider a charitable gift to John Carroll in support of our students, our faculty, and our entire campus community. If you've already made a gift this year, thank you for your generosity. If you have not, please join me in supporting JCU so that we can continue to deliver an outstanding education for our current and future Blue Streaks. You can make a donation by visiting jcu.edu/give. Thank you again for joining us. Take care, be well, stay safe, and onward on John Carroll.